All right, what is up, family? My name is Dr. Dale, and this is Maximize Mondays. I am starting something new, and I'll tell you why. This is just me being real. I get a lot of inquiries. People always asking, "Hey, Dr. Dale, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do all these things at the same time?" And you'd be surprised how often I get that question. And it finally just occurred to me, it's like, man, why don't you just make something and just put it out there, tell people how you do these things, right? And these aren't like secrets, my personal secrets or anything. These are just things that I do that I incorporate into my life that help me be relatively effective at things that I do. So what I'm gonna do for the next 52 weeks, I'm gonna put one out every week. I'm gonna commit to putting one out every week. One thing that I do that I implement in my own life that helps me be successful at the various things that I go after, right? So I'm gonna put them out so other people who might be interested in learning how I'm doing the things that I'm doing, so you guys can do them as well, and so you guys can start trying to practice some of these things. Now I'm gonna tell you, all these things are just things that I've learned from somebody else or things that I've learned from reading books or whatever. These aren't like my own, hey, Dr. Dale created that stuff, right? Because there's no need to create it. There's nothing new under the sun, and other people have written about these. So I'm gonna make these quick, short, try to keep them to less than 5 minutes. So just something quick you can grab on Monday morning, listen to it, learn something, be inspired, be motivated, and start your week off right. So why Monday? So I had this podcast that I committed to doing for a full year, and I finished that for that full year, and it was called Pre-Med Monday. So I made that specifically for pre-med students to give them mentorship, and I based it after a book that I wrote called Pre-Med Mondays. And you won't believe how many messages I would get, people writing. At every podcast I started off by saying Happy Monday, and you won't believe how many people would message me on various social media platforms, but mostly on a site that we own, and they will say, "Hey, Dr. Dale, Happy Monday, Happy Monday." And that was really getting people pumped and motivated. But I stopped that podcast because it was a year podcast, and I thought, well, man, the inspiration that I was giving people was amazing, just the feedback that I was getting. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this again because I want people to keep that inspiration, keep that motivation. And for all those people who are always asking me, how do you do what you do? I'm gonna tell you how I do what I do. I'm gonna tell you the things that I implement in my life to be able to accomplish all these things. All right, so week number one, maximize Mondays. The first thing that I implement in my life that I hold fast to, that I truly believe with all my heart, that anybody who's gonna do anything meaningful in this world, I don't wanna say that, but anybody who's gonna do anything that's really, really impactful in this world is you have to accept your greatness. Accept your greatness. It sounds crazy when you hear it, especially if you're not somebody who's into personal development or somebody who's quite on that level, but it sounds crazy when you hear it. But this is really the first step, is you have to accept your greatness. If you want to do something big, if you want to do something meaningful, impactful, that's going to impact lives, is you have to first accept your own personal greatness, right? This happened for me, I think, in the year 2014 or so, and I'll tell the story. The individual who did this, I don't think he's even heard the story, so this might be the first time he's hearing it. But it's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Joel Wiggins. I was out, my one of my best friends and mentors, Darius, came over down to Dallas, where I'm at, and he introduced me to Joel. So we're out in Joel's house. We were over there for a while, and I think we had dinner or something like that. And then we're leaving for the night, and Joel's walking us out. We go out into his driveway, and we talked for a while, and then Joel just starts yelling at me. He just starts saying all sorts of stuff and yelling, and not like he's mad at me, but like motivation is yelling at me. And then I remember he's saying like, "You don't even realize how great you are. You don't know how much potential you've gotten. You're letting it go to waste." And just going at me. And then finally he says, "You know what, Dale? You don't think you have permission to be successful. You don't believe you have permission to be successful." And then he says, "Dale, today I give you permission to go out there and be successful. I give you permission to go out there and be great." And he probably doesn't realize this, but for whatever reason, when I heard that, that stuck with me. That stuck with me for years, and that turned the light switch on. I don't know what it was, but I felt as though I needed that permission. Somehow I didn't know I felt this way, but after I've heard that, it's been on. It's been on since then. Um, and that's the moment where I think I finally realized I accepted my greatness. And you're not gonna achieve great things in life if you don't think you're great. That's just plain and simple. You have to accept your greatness in order to go out there and achieve great things in life. You gotta realize, man, the potential in the human being is crazy. And if you don't realize this, you're just not gonna get to your potential. But you really have to realize what you're capable of doing. And the problem is, so many people are trapped in this box that the world puts on them. And I can tell you countless stories of people trying to put me in boxes, right? People, people who shouldn't be trying to put you in boxes. I can tell you countless of stories of those things. I mean, like doctors of high levels that I really respect just trying to box me in. And you got to realize you're not in a box. There's a book that I read. It's called Action Has No Season. And I remember one of the things he talks about in that book is people say, get outside of the box. And he's like, outside of what box? The box doesn't even exist. We make these things up in our head about there's a box. There's no box there. We trap ourselves in the box. You'll hear this thing about grasshopper or fleas, right? We're like fleas. Is what happens if you take, how do you train a flea? You put a flea inside of a jar, you put a lid on the top of the jar. After a while, the flea's gonna keep on jumping and hitting its head. Then the flea's gonna be trained not to jump that high anymore. You take that lid off that jar, the flea's not gonna jump out of that jar. We've trained that flea to limit its potential. And the vast majority of us are trained to believe that we're limited in various ways that we're just not. So you're not going to break out of that until you accept your greatness, until you realize that we all have permission to be great. One of my favorite Steve Jobs quote, I don't know how it goes word for word, but it's this whole idea of where we tend to believe that life's the way it is and we're trapped in this box and we could only do X and Y, certain things. He said the moment you realize that everything you look around, all these computers, cell phones, were created by people just like you, that's the moment you can go out and be great. And, when you actually take the time to realize that and really think about it, you realize that Steve Jobs was a human like you. The Bible talks about Elijah doing great things. It says Elijah was a human just like you. When you realize the people who've done the greatest things in the world are just humans just like you, and you shouldn't awe and ooh over anybody, you should not be awe and oohing over anybody, right? Because they bleed just like you bleed, they cry like you cry, they sleep like you sleep, right? So whatever they have in them, you have in you too. You just have to accept it. That's the difference between those people who are great and those people who are just going about their daily lives. Is one group chose to accept it and do something about it, and one group chose not to do something about it, right? So Maximize Monday, the first thing I would tell you have to do, if you're going to come with me for the next 52 weeks on this journey, only way it's going to work is if you accept your greatness, right? Because if you don't accept your greatness, then you're not going to be willing to do anything else, and you're not going to want to do anything else. And I'm going to tell you now, 95% of you watching this video aren't going to keep up. I'm not trying to knock you. I'm not trying to say anything bad. I know some people, I just lost 90% of my listeners right then and there because you're just not going to keep up, because it's something that, for whatever reason, I can't explain it, but for whatever reason, people just can't do. People just can't accept their greatness. But once you get to that point where you can really accept your greatness and really know that you can do all these things that you really want to do in life, once you get to that point and you truly believe it, it's game over. It's game over, right? So Maximize Monday. First thing is you got to accept your greatness. You have to accept your greatness. Know that you have permission to go out there and excel. And once you do that, it's game over, all right? Love you guys. Let's maximize this Monday, all right?